Welcome in, everybody, to the Jays Digest pregame show. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. Now, I'm glad to be back today. Exciting game, exciting lineup for the Toronto Blue Jays against the Tampa Bay Rays. Unfortunately, we will not be seeing this one on TV. It's available on radio for those of you that do want to tune in. But we want to thank you all for the continued support that we've gotten, and it's can't wait for the season to start. We're not even a couple weeks away, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, 11 days away. We're ramping up, and John Snyder seems to be ramping up too with these lineups. They're looking more and more like a game lineup, and very unfortunate and kind of disappointing that today's lineup is not televised. And that's, I think, now 2 out of our last 4 games haven't been televised, which is a bit unfortunate, but I guess it's just the way it goes. But yeah, make sure to hit the like button. What's up, Owen? What's up, Nick? And yeah, again, untelevised today. Very unfortunate. It would have been nice to watch them this afternoon, but we'll do our best to listen and go from there. And let's just get into it, the lineup previews. And I'll pop up the Jays lineup, and I also have the Rays lineup as well. And Peter, what were your thoughts on the lineup today? Anyone that stands out to you with Springer, Bichette, Belt, Kirk, Varsho, Chapman, Merrifield, Biggio, Espinal with Manoah pitching?
Yeah, Merrifield's been very hot, and this is a different lineup than what we've seen. I mean, Merrifield figures to be in left field when there's a lefty out there on the mound, I would assume, and probably Espinal at second base. I don't know who's pitching for
Drew
Tampa
Rasmussen.
Bay. I haven't. Drew Rasmus. Okay, so he's a righty, but I guess you could expect this sort of lineup here when the Blue Jays are facing a lefty. So Varsho in center field, you want to keep his powerful bat in the lineup. Then Merrifield slides over to left field, and Espinal plays second base. But pretty exciting lineup. Brandon Belt playing his first game at first base in the spring, so that's going to be interesting. And Alejandro Kirk actually got
Yeah,
scratched
I saw that as
late
well.
from the game. It's Rob Brantley who's going to be
Yep.
catching. So unfortunately, Chapman slides up. Not unfortunately, but Chapman slides up to the 4th spot in that lineup. Kirk is scratched. Rob Brantley's going to be hitting 8th. So everyone basically moves up one, except for Varsho, who stays where he is.
Yeah, and Brantley's been doing very, very well, but it is a non-COVID related illness as well, which is good. So hopefully he's only out for a game or something like that. But yeah, it's nice to see Belt back in there. One of the main regulars, obviously, Vladdy, after his phenomenal game yesterday. That I had a basketball game yesterday, so I wasn't able to watch the full thing, but I saw the highlights of it. Vladdy turned up. The Jays did very, very well. I would have liked to make a post-game video, but me and Peter were both busy. But yeah, overall, pretty good. Very, very good lineup, actually, for the Jays. And again, it's a bit weaker without Alejandro Kirk in there, but it'll be interesting. Here's the Rays lineup today with his Yandy Diaz, Wander Franco, Harold Ramirez, Brandon Lau, Manuel Margot, Luke Raley, Christian Bethancourt, Jose Siri, Daniel Robertson, with, of course, their great pitcher, Drew Rasmussen on the hill. And their lineup is pretty loaded, too. I think all teams around the league are kind of starting to ramp up a little bit now and getting some players regular playing time. Obviously, regulars once every couple of days to get them locked in for the season, because in less than 12 days, in 11 days exactly, they're going to be on the grind of 162.
Yeah, exactly. And starting pitchers need to get their pitches in right now. And we saw Chris Bassett last start. He went for around 80 pitches. So I think we could expect that going forward for most pitchers, including those on the Blue Jays. Jose Barrios is back with the team now after Puerto Rico got bounced from the World Baseball Classic. The Jays don't have anyone left now who's at the World Baseball Classic. Jimmy Garcia's back from the Dominican Republic team. I can't really think of. Yeah, Spencer Horwitz is back as well from Team Israel.
Zach
So,
Britton, I think.
so no more.
No, it wasn't there. I'm thinking of Spencer
No,
Horwitz.
he
I was thinking
was.
Spencer Horwitz.
Yeah, it was Spencer Horwitz. So everyone's back. No more distractions. I think the team's really starting to round into shape now. There's maybe 1 or 2 spots available left on this roster, but everyone's pretty much set in place at the moment in time where we speak. So everyone's battling for those final spots, but the guys kind of know where they're going to be once the season starts, and I think that's the most important thing at this stage in spring training.
Yeah, no, I agree. Espinal DH is interesting. Biggio at second, Merrifield, left field, interesting. Yeah, it's a very interesting lineup. I don't think in a regular season game that Biggio necessarily gets a start against a lefty unless he's absolutely smoking hot. What's up, Adam? Hope you're doing well. Versus lefties, would it be better serving having one of Jensen or Kirk go to the DH? How have belt splits been over the years? That's a very good question. I think so, but then you're kind of wondering about the whole getting them off their feet thing. What are your thoughts on that, Peter? Do you think against lefties you should have both Kirk and Jensen in the lineup if they're both playing well? I'd say probably.
Yeah, you can. You could easily do that. Although Kirk struggled against lefties last year, so he's I don't know. He's not necessarily a power
Yeah,
bat against lefties. Same thing with Danny Jansen. I mean, most of his damage came against righties. So Belt's always been a guy that didn't have to platoon because he was able to hit well against left-handed
he's been
pitching.
solid against lefties.
Although, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, but I think Belt plays around 80 to 90 games, and I figure that we do get a right-handed hitter in there with a lefty on the mound.
I agree. I agree. Happy Sunday, Baines. Or Edward saying is Nate Pearson in the 26-man roster. It has yet to be decided. I don't know when it fully gets finalized. I don't know if you know. I'm assuming it's a few days before opening day, right?
Must
Or
be, yeah,
yeah, I
must
think it's
be.
a few days before opening day.
I
But
don't know the exact. I don't know the exact date, but I mean, we could rifle off all the names that we know are going to make the team, and I think we're going to probably name 23
yeah,
guys,
and
and
then a
then
few
the
spots
rest
that are
is
questionable.
then the rest is just tough. I mean, Otto Lopez is in the mix. Nathan Lucas on the position player side. I guess Addison Barger is in there. Maybe
Maybe
Spencer
I think Otto
Horwitz.
Lopez for sure.
I would lean Otto Lopez as well, but there's only one spot, and I figure a platoon of different guys are going to get a chance throughout the year. And then if we look at the pitching side of things, I guess maybe 11 out of 13 spots are wrapped up, rotation and bullpen included.
Yeah.
So then that leaves two pitchers that might make the team. And if you count Nate Pearson as one of them, which he should be, then there's one spot. So it's real tough. I mean, we could basically tell you who the 26-man roster is going to be, but we don't know for sure yet.
I know the opening day starters are being revealed on the 23rd of March, so maybe it's then. Maybe they'll let us know then. But
I
make sure to
thought
hit
it
the
was Manoa. I thought it got
It
leaked.
got basically confirmed. It hasn't fully leaked yet, but I mean, by the team, I mean
All right.
the team. If it is going to be Manoa though, because he lines up today to start on opening day. But full, I'm just saying that on March 23rd, the team's going to announce it, so maybe they'll announce the other stuff. But make sure to hit the like button as we move on to the rapid fire segment. And Peter, I'll let you get your rapid fire question in first, since you were busy yesterday. I'll say, which so have you been cooking up a good one, or what's the thought
I
today?
got one. I got one. And you know me, especially in spring training for the first one, I like to kind of go off the board. And March Madness is going on right now, so I want to ask you, would you be a fan of a March Madness style playoffs in Major League Baseball?
So meaning one game elimination?
Meaning, yes, yeah, with like 16 teams, let's say.
No, no, I would not.
No, okay, not one game, not one. Let's go
Okay,
three
so you just
game
mean
elimination.
more teams.
Yeah, more teams, but 3 game series, and then maybe the World Series is like five or seven.
I don't know. I think I like the way it is now with the
Yeah,
with the
me
play
too.
in and everything and the wild card. I'm thinking of basketball, but with the wild card and
Yeah,
everything like that. But it would be interesting to have it like a March Madness for maybe minor leagues would be maybe an interesting thing to do, and have
yeah.
so you can see all the prospects shine, kind of like the World Baseball Classic, which is kind of the same thing, but just for their countries. But it would be interesting for something like that.
Because that happened in 2020 in the shortened season. I mean, I
Yeah,
think 16 teams made the playoffs, so there was a round of three in the wild card round. Then there was then you got into the actual ALDS, NLDS type thing. But I like the way it is right now. It's an exclusive club. It's hard to get into the playoffs, and there are teams that finish 20 games above 500, and they don't even
like the
sniff the
Blue
playoffs.
Jays 2021.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. They missed the playoffs by one game. It's heart-wrenching for some fan bases, but it also it you can't tank in the regular season. You got to take every game seriously, and I like that for at least from the fan perspective, and it just makes the game better, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I like it a lot, and the harder it is to get in, the more rewarding it is if you get in, and it makes more teams. Try to get in. But Shin saying, as it stands roster-wise, we'll likely have at least one left-handed outfielder always, even if Otto makes a squad, unless they are prepared to change off Kiermaier in center field full time, and trade for a legit left fielder who bats right-handed. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'm hoping. I think Otto. I think he makes it. I think he does. If there's any stumbling out of the gate after 6 weeks, Jays are in third. You trade Barrera and more for Reynolds. That's a question I'll let you answer, Peter. Peter is the biggest Brian Reynolds guy I've seen, so I'll let Peter answer that real quick. But before I ask my rapid fire,
uh,
I don't know
ba-
about 6 weeks.
barrier
I don't know about 6 weeks, but
barrier. I mean, after 6 weeks, 6 weeks. Yeah, I mean. No, I probably wouldn't, but I've been on the train that the Jays need to get off to a hot start. I think the first 6 weeks of the season could probably make or break their season. Just considering the Yankees' injuries at the moment and
I
their
agree.
uncertainty in the starting rotation. So maybe, and I've been very vocal that I would rather trade a prospect that I'm sure will be a great player for a guy that gets you over the hump this season, and I'm gonna keep continuing to hammer that down to the fans. I just think that's the way to go, and Ricky Tiedemann included. I mean, I don't think he's gonna make an impact this year. So if you could trade Ricky Tiedemann this year for a guy that puts you in the mix better than you are right now, then I would do it. I would do it. It's hard. It's hard to let go of these promising prospects, and Ricky Tiedemann is no different. But what's he going to do in 2023 for the Blue Jays as opposed to an established superstar player? Now, I'm not saying let's trade Ricky Tiedemann. Let's look to trade him. I'm just saying if the right deal comes along, then I'd be open to it.
I agree with the right deal. I completely agree with that. I don't think it would be Reynolds though. I don't think he would do. I don't know if he'd do it for us.
Mm,
I think it would have to be. I'm saying from the front
it
office
also depends
perspective.
how he plays.
It is,
It also
yes,
depends how he plays.
correct.
Like if in the first 6 weeks of the season he's playing like 2021 Brian Reynolds, who had 6 wins above replacement,
Then yeah, do it.
then yeah,
But
you
it also
probably then
depends
you
how our
probably do
outfielders
it.
play. If Kevin Kiermaier's having a phenomenal year, do you really want to? Obviously, you trust Brian Reynolds more, but maybe you make the question a bit harder.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you?
No, it's definitely a conversation to have
Good
for sure.
question out of Owen, and I'm just going to use. I'll just steal Owen's question here for a rapid fire question. Would you rather have Kikuchi with a 1.8 ERA in the bullpen or a 4.00 ERA in the rotation? A very interesting question, but it's a decent one I've never really heard of. So let us know in the chat what your thoughts are on that. And Peter, I'll get your opinion on. I thought I was going to go with 1.8 in the bullpen, but now I'm questioning it. I might be overthinking it. What's your
It's an
answer
easy
here?
one for me. It's an easy one for me. It's four in the starting rotation.
Yeah, I think I'd
It's got
agree.
to be
I
because
think I agree.
if we if you were to tell me a couple weeks ago that Yusei Kikuchi would have a 4 ERA this season, I'd laugh. I'd laugh at you, but I would take that all day long.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I'd take a 4 ERA because I mean, obviously having a 1.8 ERA, I mean you have to be an insane bullpen piece, but we'd have to replace him with something. Now, if you change the question to we move him to the bullpen and acquire like an elite starter, then maybe. But we don't have enough starter depth right now to really
Okay, let
who
me let me address some comments here about Ricky Tiedemann. Now, I would only trade him for a superstar player as well, but um, okay, let's see where he's ranked in the top 100 prospects for Major League Baseball. He's 32nd, I believe. So
I thought it was
MLB, yeah,
no, well, I was thinking
32nd.
2030. Yeah, okay, sure.
No, no, no. That's for Fangraphs. That's for Fangraphs. Now, Ricky Tiedemann has only pitched 3 innings in the spring so far. We have yet to see him, and he hasn't. He's slowed down already. Like he's already felt some shoulder tightness, and I'm not saying like let's look to trade Ricky Tiedemann. But what I am saying is that if the right deal comes along, you have to entertain it because
Sorry,
MLB.com, and
Mantis.
although they are biased, they are biased towards the Blue Jays sometimes. They believe that there are 31 other prospects that are better right now than Ricky Tiedemann. And how many of the top 10 actually pan out and become MLB superstars? Now, just because his stuff is good and he throws 99 from the left hand side, it doesn't mean he's going to be a superstar in the major leagues. Time will tell. But if you can get a guy that gets you over the hump right now for your top prospect, then you do it. But I'm not saying you go out and you look for it. The deal's got to come. It's got to fall into your lap. But that's just the way it is.
Happy Sunday. 4 ERA and your fifth starter would lead MLB. Take that and run. Yeah, what's up, Mantis? Hope you're doing well. If he does 50 innings pitched in the bullpen versus 160 in the rotation, I take the 4. Our bullpen is deep, our rotation is not. I would agree, Bainzor. I think that's a consensus 4 ERA, which is the reason why I proposed that question. Kikuchi has shown great promise and limited amount of innings pitched. I think by this point he has proved he can be a good reliever. I guess now the question is whether he can be a good starter. Yeah, I don't know if he's fully proved he can be a good reliever, but there's definitely promise there that he potentially could be. Kikuchi will be the fifth starter, 65% of the year until Ryu returns to transition and the bullpen for the playoffs. We can have a 4 ERA as the 5 and a 1.8 from the pen. Now that is wishful thinking, but I would love if Ryu returns to even 80% of what he was in, I guess, in 2020 and prior.
I don't think I see it
I
happening.
don't think so
I
either.
can't see Hyun-Jin Ryu returning. Maybe he does throw a couple of innings when the Jays need some relief in that starting rotation, but not much more than that. I don't think he's going to make much of an impact. He was great in the first year of that deal, but now it's kind of turned sour a little bit. And after Tommy John at 36 years old, tough to see him doing anything
It'll
significant
also
this year.
depend on, of course, how our rotation does. If he even gets a start, like if it's healthy, there's no shot that Ryu gets a
I think
start if
you'll
we
get
don't
a
perform.
couple,
I think
like
so too, but I mean,
maybe to give like some rest, maybe give an extra day as a
that is true
sixth
too.
starter, maybe, but I don't know.
We'll see.
Not.
I'm on the Ryu train though. I would love to see him come and be our like sixth
I'd
starter.
love
I
to.
would love it.
Love
And
to.
let's move on now. Make sure to hit the like button. Let's move on to the bold predictions. Let's try to get to 15 likes. And bold prediction time, Peter. What is your bold prediction? It is the final year, yeah. Final of his. Let's get to 20 likes now. We're already at 15. This is the final year of his 4-year, $80 million deal for Ryu. And Peter, what is your bold prediction for today's game? And chat, let us know your bold prediction. See if anyone can get it right. I know what I'm going with because it's yet to work, and I'm going to keep going until hopefully I hit one. But I'll let you start.
I'm gonna go with Alek Manoah 5 scoreless innings. That's what I'm gonna do. I don't know if that's bold, but
Yeah, it's
okay,
pretty.
5 scoreless innings, 8 strikeouts.
Okay, there you go. That's both. I'm gonna go with a Vershow home run and a Belt home run. I've been riding the Vershow home run since the start of March, so I'm. It's been like almost 3 weeks now, and he's still yet to do it. But
Now I'll say this. I'll say this about Varsho. Okay, there was a lot of hype about Shohei Ohtani. Obviously, not the same level of hype, but Ohtani was miserable in spring training when he first came in with the Angels, and then people were saying, "Oh, he's a bust. He's not ready for Major League Baseball." Then look what he does in his rookie year. He's absolutely phenomenal, and 2 years later, he's the best player that we've ever seen in our lifetimes, and will probably go down as the greatest player of all time. So, I'm not saying that Varsho is going to be the greatest player of all time, but spring training, it's all about having good at bats. He wants to see a lot of pitches. And, during the regular season, he is very aggressive at the plate. He only had a 302 on base percentage last season. So that means he swings at a lot of pitches. And he's going to be in attack mode once opening day rolls around. So I'm okay with him struggling in spring if he wants to see pitches and get acclimated.
yeah, lots of bold predictions. You're only throwing 4 starters in the playoffs, so whoever was the 5 is relegated to the bullpen. Yep, that is very, very true. And I don't think Kikuchi will make a playoff start. But why are you so down on Ryu? Fresh off Tommy John, new arm, high recovery rate. Okay, his stuff isn't magic, but there's still a chance he'll be okay. I'm not necessarily down on Ryu. I just don't know. I'm hoping that he does. I really hope that he does have a great impact. I'm just not sure at his age. I mean, maybe he will. And again, he relies on control more than velocities. That'll probably help him more than hurt him off Tommy John. But I don't know. It's we hope he's well. It's just gonna be a tough catch. But Shed actually takes a couple
Yeah.
pitches. That's bold.
Yeah, with Hyun-Jin Ryu, like you said, he relies on his location, but before he went down with that elbow injury that forced him to get Tommy John, his location was terrible. I mean, he was hanging changeups over the middle of the
And
plate,
maybe it
and
was
he
because of
was
the
just
injury
getting
though.
it might have been, but it even seeped over into the year before. Like he started to decline the second year of that contract. He was great in the first year, and then kind of midway towards the second year in his deal, he really started to slow down. His fastball couldn't even touch 90 anymore, and he was hanging changeups, hanging curveballs, and his calling card was that he could put any pitch wherever he wanted it. And he just was not able to do that leading up to the Tommy John. It could have been the injury. I hope you're right, Nick, but I just don't see him contributing considering, how much stock they've put into Yusei Kikuchi now in that fifth starter spot.
Yeah, Bainzor. I'm a bit higher on him than you are, but I would agree with most of what you're saying. Bold prediction: Manoa takes a no-no into the sixth before the pitch count gets him lifted. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Bo first pitch
Uh,
swing, nailing that one. I think what happened to Pearson, they're going to be extra cautious with Tiedemann. Yeah, I would agree, but maybe not because of necessarily directly what happened with Pearson, but either way, no. Actually, honestly, Pearson probably plays a big role.
Okay, now I don't know if we asked this already in the polls before, but did we say would you trade Ricky Tiedemann for
Yeah,
a
we did.
World Series
We did that, and the answer
in the
was everyone
polls?
said yes. Yeah, everyone said yes. I think it was like
Well, there you
85%.
go. There you go. So let's say you trade Ricky Tiedemann. Now, let me clarify
I,
once again.
I would do it for a World Series. I would do it for a
I
World
think he's
Series.
going to be very good. I think he's going to be very good. And I think he's going to be at the top of that rotation if they do hang on to him. But who gives you a better chance to win a World Series this year, Nick? Is it Ricky Tiedemann or is it Brian Reynolds?
Mike, yes, funny. No, it's definitely Brian Reynolds. But at that point,
Exactly.
but I don't think that Brian Reynolds gets us a World Series, so I wouldn't make the trade.
So you don't think the Jays have a chance to compete for a World Series this year?
I
Is
think
that what
they
you
do, but I'm saying that if I don't think Brian Reynolds puts us over the top for a World Series, that's why I'd keep Tiedemann. That's
Who does? Who puts you over the top?
like I think the Jays could win the World Series with their team as is, anyways. If everything falls into place, so it's kind of I don't know. It's a tough question. A superstar player like Manny Machado, Nolan Arenado, people like that. Like another player like that, I think would not guarantee, but put us close to guarantee, kind of like a Kawhi situation. But like a Brian Reynolds, I'm just not totally convinced that he would guarantee. I mean, no one guarantees a World Series, but I don't
So
know. Makes it tough.
you wouldn't rather have Brian Reynolds playing every day over Kevin Kiermaier?
I would. Oh yeah, no, definitely would, but I don't think I would trade Tiedemann for that. I mean, you can ask the chat as well. I'm curious to see what they say.
Hmm.
Because I don't know. I just don't know if he
Interesting.
because he had a poor year last year considering it like superstar caliber wise, like a 2 WAR, 1 point, maybe it was a 2.1
Yeah,
WAR.
well, I mean that was just mainly based on defense, but I think he was just disengaged. He had a 6 the year before.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough.
So Bo went from a 6 to a 3 also.
Ryu's a
So
sticky stuff
it's
guy. Dude came from the Dodgers, and they were well known to be big fans of sticky. It's possible. It's possible. Mike, I agree. 10 reasonable starts could happen for Ryu. I'm thinking more 5 to 6 though. Barrios and Kikuchi can go to the pen if they pitch like last year. I hope they don't. We have two Tiedemann. Tiedemann and Barrea both are basically the same players with the same age, the same trajectory. Clubs are salivating over both. Scouts are predicting similar careers. One is gone. It's a fair point.
and another left-handed pitcher that the Jays have in their pipeline is Adam Macko, who's another top 10 prospect that they have. So there's a lot of left-handed pitching in the pipeline. There's not much on the big league team right now, but when you look at the top 10 prospects that the Jays have, a lot of lefties in there.
And let me ask you this: Would you, Peter? Do you think the Blue Jays front office would trade Tiedemann for Reynolds right now? I don't think they would.
I mean, I would. I
Yeah.
would, I think.
No, I know you would.
Just
I mean, like, do you think
I'm
the front
very high.
office would?
I think they explore it. I
I think
think
they
they
explored as
explore
well.
it
But I
for
think it would
sure.
take more prospects. I think it'd take a couple more prospects, and then in which case, like, are you really?
And we got to remember that Brian Reynolds has 3 years of control left, also. So you're getting a guy that's 26 in his prime, who was top 15 in MVP voting. That means he's a top 20 player in the league at that time, and that was just a year ago. That was 1 year ago. He was top 15 in MVP voting. Might have even been higher, with a 6 wins above replacement for a prospect that has great stuff but is still nowhere even close to the big league level because they're limiting his workload. Like, what are we talking
Well,
about here?
I think he's still a year away. He only had a minor injury. It's not like it's some crazy injury that like he's not going to
No,
pitch
no,
this
no.
year.
But
But
whether he's injured or not, that's not the point I'm trying to make. Like, he won't even eclipse 100 innings this season. Maybe he does, but 100 on the nose is probably his limit. So you're telling me if he throws 100 innings this year, he's ready for 140 in the big league rotation the next year? There's no
Mano, I
way.
guess Mano was in college. I don't know. It's tough. It's interesting. I just don't. I mean, if you're going all in this year, then yeah, you make the trade. I just don't know if the front office is going to do that.
But I don't think it's going all in for just this year. I think
That is true
you
for a couple years. Yeah, a couple years or
it's
three.
for a couple of years because yes, they made the Dalton Varsho trade as well, and that's kind of signifying going all in, right? But you also have Dalton Varsho for 4 more years, so
And
I think
Versho
you're
costs a
extending your
lot.
window. Well,
Versho costs a lot. So if that's I trade Tiedemann for Soto, Otani, Acuna, or legit ace starting pitcher under 26. I think I agree with that.
interesting.
I think there's
Yeah,
a couple
no,
more outfielders I would. Again, I'm just not high on Brian Reynolds. Like I think that's what it comes down to for me. Which I should. I mean, maybe I should be higher on him, but I don't know. Like
it's okay. I mean,
it is what it is. Sad news about Jose Altuve for Astros
yeah,
fans. What happened with Altuve?
he broke his broke his finger yesterday in a World Baseball Classic game, I think.
It's brutal. I doubt they
Yeah.
get their ask, unfortunately, for Ben. I was under the impression teams come calling when they're buyers. How often do teams just come calling for a prospect? I don't see how a team and deal just falls into our laps. I think it's more of you call the team asking what their price is and then you negotiate from there. I mean, you saw what happened with the Vershow thing, which was and Moreno was a higher ranked prospect than Tiedemann is now, and we got Dalton Vershow out of it. So it'd be pricey, you'd think, right? For Reynolds, if you compare their values to be, I would say Vershow has some more value than Reynolds does right now because of. Would you agree with that? I'd say a little bit more value in a trade at least
Varsho?
than Reynolds in the trade at the time. It's close though. It's
A
close.
little bit. I'd say maybe a little bit, but we were also against trading Gabriel Moreno right now. Weren't we? Were we not against trading him
Yeah,
beforehand?
but yeah, I guess the only difference there is we
But now
had.
we warmed up to the deal.
Oh, I'm sure
We
I would
see
warm up to it if we got Reynolds. I just don't know if the Jays do it.
exactly. But that's my whole thinking that I think Reynolds is a player that can get you over the top.
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
he's that good of an offensive player, and then you move Varsho to center field, and you don't even have to deal with Brian Reynolds' defense in center field because Varshow's a Gold Glove caliber player out there too, and then his offense production becomes even more valuable because he's a left-handed hitter that plays center field that'll hit 25 plus home runs for you.
yeah, I'd
So I
agree.
look at it there, and then you have Kevin Kiermaier as a fourth outfielder, and then that
It's
13th roster spot,
it's
you're
promising.
not
It
really thinking about it
depends
too much
how.
more.
It also depends how he does this year, and we'll just. I mean, the game's started now. It's starting up now, but we'll. I meant trade value wise, Mark Ryan, and honestly, I'd probably. I mean, wins above replacement wise last year, Vershow almost had double or more than double what Reynolds has. I'm not saying that they're a huge difference, but the question is definitely
No.
close. The question is definitely
Well, it was
close.
I think he had 2.9 last
Okay,
year,
yeah, you're right. You're
Reynolds,
right. You're right. And Vershow
and
had 4
Varsho
point
had a
something.
4.9,
Okay.
4.9. So 2 wins. That's a lot. That's a lot between players, but the year before that, Reynolds
Yeah, no,
had
exactly.
6.
My point is that they're close. That
So
was kind of what it came down to. Anyways,
they're close.
Q&A, we'll wrap it up now in a minute. Someone said Tiedeman's for Burns. Shane saying Tiedemann for Burns is certainly interesting. I'd do that. I would do that.
Don't know if Milwaukee
No, I don't think
would though.
Milwaukee does, but I would definitely trade Tiedemann for Burns because then you're basically just swapping a bit of your future for your present.
You can't watch this game. It's
Radio.
it's only on radio, unfortunately. But it's just a conversation to have because Reynolds and Varsho are similar players, not like skill base wise. Like Reynolds is a superstar hitter, doesn't strike out as much as Varsho, and just great guy. But Varsho, I mean, he's more defense
Much
first
better.
and
Yeah.
more versatile.
Different players.
But they are similar in value.
Correct.
Similar in value. Yeah.
History, no. Reynolds over Vershow, agreed. Going forward, Vershow over Reynolds. I think I'd agree with that point. That's a pretty fair point there. Last question we'll touch on here before we do wrap up is Nick saying, in terms of trade, it probably cost more than they wanted to pay for Reynolds, which is why they went with Vershow as a second option. And that is very, very possible because I remember, and we had tons of videos on this, Peter, that they wanted Tiedemann. The Pirates wanted Tiedemann. I think they wanted an MLB player, so I guess Lourdes maybe, and then a top pitching prospect was the thing they wanted. So they would have wanted Tiedemann, and I'm assuming they didn't want Gabby because you'd think that maybe they would have went for Reynolds instead of Vershow, or shifting the culture change, they pursued Vershow. So we will never
But
know.
another thing we got to remember that okay, if you're trading Tiedemann this year for Brian Reynolds, you're basically saying you're going all in, right? But are you not all in with Kevin Kiermaier on a 1-year contract? What do you do next year with the outfield situation? Because Kiermaier's gone. I don't think they're going to re-sign him. He's going to try to build up his value and get a multi-year deal somewhere else because that's his last opportunity to cash in. And I don't think the Jays are going to bring him back. I think it's a 1-year show and go. And if you do get Brian Reynolds, maybe you have a bit of a logjam in the outfield this year. Kevin Kiermaier's got to get his playing time, but you also have a superstar for the next 3 years. So
I think no, I would
that's the way I
agree.
look at it,
Again, the Kiermaier deal is a bit. It's obviously less risk than trading someone like Tiedemann,
of
but
course.
yeah, no, I think Vershow is the center fielder of the future, but we still have someone. We need an outfielder. We need one more outfielder. So who knows what that'll be? But that'll wrap it up. I do have to go do a group project for school. But biggest opening day roster supplies. That'll be the last question from Shane. I'm just gonna say it'll be, I guess, Nate Pearson if you consider that a surprise. I'll just go with that before we
Otto
wrap up.
Lopez.
Otto Lopez,
maybe.
yeah.
I don't know.
So I don't know. I don't think there'd be too many people that would really shock me. Maybe the
No.
Gasuke. What was his name? I forget his name, but last year, go. Oh,
Gosuke
Ghost.
Kato.
That him. Yeah,
Kato.
he was a bit of a
Yeah,
surprise. He was a bit of
yeah,
a surprise. I don't think that
yeah.
happens again this year, but
Didn't last long though.
no, did not. He walked a few times, didn't get a hit. But anyways, Mantis, it
Yeah.
was very easy to replace a corner outfielder since Varsho moved to center. Yeah, I think they are all in now. This is why Barrios and Cucci are on thin ice. Yeah, well, we'll see. Thank you guys for tuning in. Today was a great stream. It was our first one. It was our first one back in, I guess, one day. We took one day off. But Peter, I'll let you answer that last question.
Japan. Go Japan. I
I'm
want them
also
to win
I'm
the
also
whole
gonna go to
thing.
Japan.
I
We said
love
that
that
in our
team.
pregame stream, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna ride that out. Have a great day. Go enjoy the game. Listen to the radio. If not, enjoy your Sundays, and we'll have some sort of video for you tonight in probably in the form of a post game recap, depending on how the game goes. But take it easy. Thanks for everyone for tuning in.